Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of The Expanse, Why We Fight. And I'm kind of confused about this episode. Granted, there are some decent things that happen throughout it. However, this being the next to the last episode for this final season to tie things up, it's not very good. And that we do kind of at the end get a clear setup of what we're supposed to believe is kind of the end game fight. It somehow it was both too fast and too slow to me, i.e. it took like, okay, we know that Avasarala and the rest kind of need to get into an endgame state, but we have to go through this kind of little rigmarole where it's going kind of a little bit slow, but also fast because we've got 6 episodes, so it's almost like they're waiting for the plot to kind of catch up at certain points with certain things. And we actually have detours for decent character development for characters that aren't really important to this story. It's really strange that I've now gotten this criticism for this show in that it does good character work on things that really add nothing to the plot. And I rarely have that kind of complaint with certain things. That pretty much goes with the new guy dude that we got introduced that was like helping Philip with the repairs, and Michio, and the dude that got his arm chopped off, Joseph. And it's like, alright, this is good shit, but we need more kind of shit going on with the actual plot going on. And we got a weird kind of thing with Amos and Bobby. Normally, I would say that thing would have worked out, but when we get to it, I'm going to explain why it doesn't really fit with me. So, we've got that stuff going on. We got Avasarala's whole kind of shtick. We got the Rossi with its all kind of shtick. And Kamina makes up the bulk of it as they're trying to deal with a lot of different kind of things going on. But first, one of the most useless things that we've got is that the Pet Cemetery shtick has gotten full swing on Laconia, and we see that Kara is like, yep, this part is really kind of annoying. Not that I don't like it, not that I wouldn't have any true interest in it. However, it really isn't adding much to the plot other than there's some people over there doing some things that might be important at some point. I'm like, alright, but it's not really important with what's going on right now, so why don't we get to that part when we get to that part? So we get this kind of drawn out scene where she is like hiding from her parents. I mean, I understand that they're like looking for her. It didn't need to track this long to kind of get to that point. We see that she had left the body, she was pretty much with it, and they're like, Kara, we love you, honey, come and get us out and all that, like, come out and all that. And I get it, they just lost one kid, they're like, did the other one die? And that kind of anxiety I get, but it's kind of like, keep it as simple as needed and as effective as needed. It's like, alright, cool, but they had to pretty much have her just like sit out and see them kind of like flashlight, and then we see that the body's gone, and then we see that the dog things are like, yeah, we kind of, the kid's sitting right there, alright, but he's got like proto-molecule kind of eyes and shit. He's like, yeah, I feel kind of funny. And they were talking about something about, like, it's kind of hard to see under substrate or what. And I'm like, what? And so he's back, and he doesn't seem insane yet, or wanting to eat brains yet. I'm waiting for both of those shoes to drop, or for him to become some kind of techno god. I.e., either kind of Reapers from Mass Effect, or being like, we going to party, techno god. Because it wouldn't... Listen, I understand how this tries to stay as serious as possible with certain things, but I have been, like, left field kicked in the nuts by certain shows at certain points, so I would not put it past, to a certain extent, for, like, someone to be like, hey, the proto-molecule just wants to have a techno rave. And speaking that, thus he made it true. No, I hope not. I always want to be wrong in certain in those kinds of things, alright? I want to be. Okay. However, the kid is pretty much mostly possessed of his mental faculties and like, what kind of happened? I'm feeling kind of weird and I can see weird shit, man. And Kara's like, now granted, the actress for the girl works pretty well because it's a difficult kind of conversation for fucking adult to have on any kind of instance. But she's like, yeah, you got bad, you got killed, dead, dud, killed, you were dead, man. So you back, and she's just like happy that he's back and hugging her and looking off at something. And I don't know if we saw it or whatnot, or what he's really looking at. Could be something or whatnot. Let's see. So that's kind of there. That would be a fucking giant game changer that they would have a resurrection protocol now introduced within the Expanse. It could vastly change up various different kind of things. Now, granted, he was fucking fresh as all get out. But if you got into your brain that, like, hey, there's these organisms dealing with the protomolecule that can bring people back from the dead, you know a lot of people would start chucking everything the kitchen sink and then some to see what the fuck kind of limit it is. They'd be fucking taking the newly dead kind of people that are probably well preserved to have been spaced to try and do that shit. They'd everything. And it's really kind of weird that we don't have any. We just know that they're weird dog things and they fucking fix things. It's like, oh, alright? Like, I kind of want to know more about that shit than rather seeing Marco Inaro stupidly deal with trying to be an asshole. And Philip being plot demanded to be whatever the fuck it wants. So, that's the big kind of thing that will probably have various kind of repercussions within the kind of narrative later on. But until now, it's like, cool! How does that help us here? So, we shift over. Let's see what we want to deal with. Alright. Avasarala and the Mars. They're trying to pretty much figure out what's going on. They're like, listen, we got enough time. We're gonna... Well, Mars had pretty much committed to going after Marco Inaros, and they tried to go to Medina Station and get to it before him. And they're like, alright, guys, we got this shit. And they pretty much get annihilated because we learned that they are railguns outfitted to the proto-molecule kind of structure. Now, I understand nukes and shit really wouldn't work, but a magnetic railgun still would be kind of strange engaging that thing with it like that, so that way they pretty much have any kind of point of entry from any kind of part of the ring under the railguns kind of thing. I would think that the proto-molecule thing would be like, fuck no, eat my ass, I'm ancient technology that can do whatever the fuck I want, why the fuck are you doing that? But that's just me. Now granted, there could be valid fucking reasons for that shit. I wish they kind of would have delved in that more. However, they don't really have the time, and they don't really have the pacing to really achieve that. That does not excuse them from that. Okay? I understand they tried to explain it being like, well, we can't nuke it because then it'll the DEFCON protocol and be like, it's like, ha! I have my shield now because I'll fucking do this thing. However, I'm going to bring up something as we get on later on of what's going on that I think that they could effectively do something with that kind of echoes some shit that's gone on before. We'll kind of have to see how that goes. So, they learn that the Martians got, like, knocked out. Avasarala's, like, feeling down and everything, wondering if she's being too soft and everything. Bobby pretty much calls her out on it, so stop feeling self-pity, tell her to go fucking do something else. And I understand Avasarala trying to balance being that person who would hang the belter up on hooks as she brought up, and she brings that up when she wants to talk with Holden, and essentially diving forward like the Martian's dick first. Like, I can understand trying to second guess yourself. However, you did not have the information that they had a railgun that they could effectively utilize within the ring space that took out. Well, they pretty much have like 6 railguns that can pretty much be maneuvered around and everything. So honestly, I can understand her like wrestling with those thoughts and everything, but I'm like, you've now got tactical intelligence that, granted, they went in gung-ho and went, we're gonna fucking fuck some shit up, and got their asses pushed in. Now you got information that is more tactically advantageous to you, and you can plan accordingly. Granted, most of her people are pretty much being like, yeah, if we head there, we can head him off and stop him before he's able to get into that ring space and everything. It's like, but she really doesn't have the numbers anymore. Granted, yes, she went with the Martians. They probably would have been able to, like, cut off Marco from there. However, she and the Martians probably would have sent some ships in. And then, if they gotten pretty much started to be taken out by the railgun, all Marco's got to do is then push you into the railgun as a pretty much spiked wall kind of thing and fucking kill all of your asses. So, try and get into the best kind of position you can to, like, take this dude out tactically. That's it. And Avasarala can do that. Now, granted, I do like them trying to examine how she's trying to have these different kind of sides to her, but it's just like, come on. I mean, you did not do the stupid move, because it's just as bad to rush into a battle as it is to, like, wait out for an enemy to get tactically in an advantageous spot where they could defend indefinitely. However, with the plan that I kind of would come up with the information that we kind of learn, that actually would work in my plan's favor, depending upon how certain variables kind of would work out. But we'll kind of get to that. They pretty much were trying to, like, push her to leave the Ceres station to, like, starve and everything, which we pretty much discussed before, of, like, they were like, fuck your help, and it's like, alright, you only got 3 weeks of food. If you don't want help, toodles. It's really, I understand trying to do the best kind of thing you do, but they're kind of like, fuck you, and it's like, okay, I would like to try and help you, but if you don't trust me and don't want my help, what else do you want me to do? That's, of course, when Kamina kind of pops in, being like, yay, 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 I got food and shit, pa-da-pa, and she's like, of course, one of the UN people is trying to pretty much give her shit, but Absaral is like, hey, yeah, fuck that guy, and granted, not to that extent, but a little bit more politically, and she's like, yeah, you're set, you're good, bring your stuff in, and I'd like to talk to you face to face if you got the time. She's like, whatever, I'm going to be busy doing my shit. She's like, oh, alright, yeah. Kamina, of course, doesn't really have any love for the inners, but we'll kind of have to see that kind of work out. We also see that the Joseph dude whose arm regrowing thing isn't going that well. Now, granted, I do like seeing them trying to, like, do this shit with that tech and show us, but the thing is, it's off, and they gotta pretty much cut it off, cut out all the nerve shit and everything, and then fit a prosthetic, and it's like, alright. So then we see that kind of, like, go down as Kamina gets onto Ceres Station, learning that kind of stuff going on. They get that out. Michio's decided to stay there. He'd be left out for weeks, so she pretty much says goodbye to them and kind of leaves him there. Kind of sucks, but it's like, alright, cool. We also see that Naomi sent a message wanting to talk to her and everything, and just she's glad that she's pretty much made it alive because of the bounty and everything on her head. But she decides not to reply to Naomi first and just kind of goes about her own thing. Let's see. So, let's get to that one kind of part. We see that the Rossi did make it to Ceres. They're getting new kind of plating that's got metallurgy from the proto-molecule. Peaches and Holden pretty much have a kind of scene where they're pretty much talking about how it's almost proving her father right, even though he's done horrendous things to get the proto-molecule to the point where they can actively do that with, like, food, everything going on with making better plating, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of weird. We also see that Holden and Naomi get in contact with the scientist from Illis, talking about how she's got a little bit more information, that it seems that some kind of mass energy ratio is kind of triggering what's going on, and that they really kind of want to watch out for it, because Illis was where we saw the kind of weird kind of thing that could take down the proto-molecule. And we'll have to see how that kind of works out. Now, Holden's like, we really got to tell this to Avasarala. So, of course, he goes there. Avasarala wants Holden to pretty much try and get Kamina to her side, because they need the Belters now, because Mars got Kaputski. They've got, like, 8 ships with a lot of missiles and pretty much loaded to take down Bear, and they're going to kind of need that for Marco. Well, Holden's like, hey, we've got some big-ass fucking thing over there that's going to be fucking with us. She, of course, calls him naive, and is like, listen, I got to win this war to even figure out about that. And I'm like, I get that. However, this could tactically kind of like fuck you or help you depending upon what happens, because it's like, yeah, I gotta deal with this. But that's usually when you get into a point where you're not thinking about the alien, that they come tongue your butthole and fucking say, hey, buddy, I got fucking 30 cosmic-sized fucking Oscar Mayer wieners that I'm about to rip your shit with. What do you want, baby? So, aliens doing strange-ass shit that could potentially wipe out your fucking solar system and everybody else. Yeah. I mean, granted, yes, Marco is being a kind of dick shit, which the aliens could probably punt into the dark space, where it's like, yeah, be your little fire out there, fuck nut. But I understand you're trying to like balance these kind of things. However, you see that these ships are disappearing, right? You now learn that it is some kind of algorithmic thing that is tied to, like, I don't know, mass and energy. What if you just fucking forced Marco into the ring space and essentially fucked with his shit to such a degree that I don't know, if it deals with mass and energy, why don't you just take some rocks like fucking Marco did, strap some fucking engine to him, and start sending him through the fucking ring to activate the fucking alien thing, so that way it's like Marco can't get out and things can't get in. So you're just tossed, it's like the essential thing of like, throw shit in the hole to activate a certain maneuver. I don't know, it's almost kind of poetic, where it would be like, yeah, you threw rocks at our shit, what if we threw rocks at yours? And it activated with like mass and energy kind of things, and then like Marco's ships couldn't get out because they might disappear. It'd be like, okay, it takes a certain mass and weight, they keep doing that boop 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 boop, and then can't get out, can't get in. You'd essentially starve his fucking shit, because who knows. It would definitely hold off the Earth one, so all the supplies that Kamina had pretty much taken out. I mean, granted, she's pretty much wiped his ass at this point, I believe. I think that's what was going on with there, but she's got most of his shit on lock, so Marco really couldn't get it from there. I don't think he'd be able to get it from any of the other ones, because we have seen that it activates at different kind of points. If you could figure that shit out algorithmically, you could essentially just keep like overloading certain things at certain points. Now, granted, that's just the information I got at this point that I could at least put as a tactical display and tactical plan that Avasarala could do to pretty much say, hey, Marco, eat your fucking ass. Just eat yourself, fuckboy. And see where it goes from there, where Marco then has no tactical ability to fucking fight. You essentially just let him sit there and be like, hey, you're not this like scrappy ass Belter dude. You put yourself in a turtle hole because you're like, I got railguns. Well, guess what? That only works if somebody comes in range of the fucking guns, asshole. And guess what? That only works if you've got food and people that are not fucking getting ready to string you up by your nards because you can't feed them. Ugh. And then the feeding thing also comes back with Sarah's Station with Drummer. Oh my god, fucking, like, granted, the stupidity doesn't truly surprise me because, I mean, granted, you look around the world and every day you see kind of new levels. But it's just like, really? Honestly? So, that's just my thing. Like, I don't know how somebody didn't come up and be like, okay, if we've learned that at certain masses and certain energy inputs, these things are able to disappear and stop these things from being able to, like, effectively and safely travel the ring, why don't we come up with a battle plan like that where we just start hurling shit there? Like, understand what mass, what energy ratio, and make just, like, the stupidest little fucking thing that, like, passes the bare minimum thing, and just keep his ass in there. He'll fucking starve eventually. Like, now granted, that does not make for excellent TV viewing, where you're essentially watching the final episode and you just see Marco screaming in a fucking void, being like, I ain't got no food. And then you just see people in the Rossi just like, yep. Granted, it's the kind of smart move, but we'll kind of have to see how that works out, because the alien things are being like, okay, you got the proto-molecule doing whatever it's doing, and then you got the, for lack of a better term, anti-proto-molecule, I'll call it at this point, since we haven't delved into it, that's like, I don't like what the fuck that shit's doing. So, stop it. But that, of course, leads up to Naomi pretty much going to Kamina and kind of talking to her, trying to learn what's going on. Kamina's like, alright, why the fuck are you here? And they give the lowdown that she lost all the people, pretty much helping the Rossi and everything like that. And Naomi does say that she's sorry, and she's like, "All right, where the fuck are you here? Because my silence should have been enough to like get you to take the hint." She's like, "Well, Avasarala wants you to help her," and she's like, "I got to choose between a bounty or an interleash." And I'm like, I get her thinking that those are the two options, and she hates it. And Naomi does comfort her. It's like, listen, we got to figure out a better kind of way, and we do kind of get that. The thing is, she was going back to her ship. And you got all these checkpoints because they're checking for, like, Marco sympathizers and everything. And they see Drummer in line. She's like, yeah, "You're pre-cleared. You can go." She's like, "No, I'll stay here and do this." She's like, "You're..." And then one of the other Belters like, "No, you're important. You gotta go do shit. Don't waste time." And then the fucking head is like, "Oh, how's it feel to be betraying the belt and all that kind of stuff?" I'm like, bitch, you were gonna let everybody starve. Okay, and you let shit get completely and utterly crazy with Marco's shit. So he hid all the food, he hid all the supplies and shit. Kamina found that shit and brought that to you. You got no fucking shit to stand on. Like, I understand trying to present the other kinds of different sides of what's going on here, but I'm just like, she got you food and shit, and she's going to try and probably figure out how to kind of deal with this. Now, granted, that leads into the Naomi thing and all that stuff going on, but I'm like, okay. Let's see. Then their stuff kind of wraps up at the end. We'll get to that. Let's go to a little interlude. Let's see. Flock of Seagulls is pretty much fluffing up Marco's feathers, being like, "Yeah, we got the fucking railguns. We're set. Your son's pretty much on your side." Just like, all right, cool. We see that Philip is trying to do some repair stuff, but there's a new dude, and we see that there's even a newer guy, and then we see that the new guy pretty much was in the brig because he was trying to get information on his brother because he was on the docks, and he sent out a thing that could have like set off where their position is. However, Philip then goes in, uses his stuff, and finds out that his brother is dead, and that he's saying that like he killed him. He's like, "No, you don't understand. He set the bombs, and they said that they wouldn't kill any Belters." It's really kind of weird because I'm like, okay, this is an effective thing to show that kind of thing. When you do those kind of tactics and everything, you are at war. And the thinking naively that no Belters or none of the people that you want to, who you love, are not going to get hurt, that's just, once it really smacks him, you can really see it really affect him and really kind of affect Philip to a degree. But the thing is, it's mainly because the plot is demanding and it affects Philip. I just don't get what they're trying to do with this shit anymore. Let's see. That. We get okay. So that's kind of that there. Philip doesn't get called on the carpet on that because they haven't kind of like caught it yet, but I think they're just going to ignore it because the plot's demanding it just for this kind of thing going on. So we'll see if he finally starts getting the kind of full bear of the weight of the tactics that they use and the people that they've hurt and they killed. We also get a scene on Sarah's station where Amos is distraught over the conversation him and Holden had. So he's pretty much drunk. He's been doing a lot of brothels and everything. He sits down with Bobby and says in plain view of everyone that Holden disarmed the bomb that would have taken out Marco. And Bobby took it a lot better than I thought. And granted, I understand that Amos is drunk and has been going around brothels and pretty much fucking his way over through Ceres. I don't mind that. The thing is, Amos is smarter than that. If that true information got like disseminated throughout everywhere, a lot of people would probably want to string Holden up, especially since his reasonings for it are fucking stupid and are kind of the weakest ones they've got. And granted, after talking and discussing more, the scene between Holden and Amos really is it's worse than I initially pegged as, because it just really fucks over the character interactions between Amos and Holden, as Holden really doesn't act like that. There are better kind of ways to even have handled that kind of situation, but again, short season, have to accelerate shit, so we get stupid shit here where we see that we need Amos in the final fight. How do we do that? Because ordinarily, Amos's usual kind of reaction to this would be, I'm not going to be working with this person, even if we've been through so much together, because he would be rightfully thinking that Holden would always be pulling his punches and not going for what is the tactically advantageous takedown. Now, granted, I've been bringing up the whole thing of taking down the myth and killing the myth before taking out the man in whatever kind of way is the best possible. That is a different kind of scenario, I think, than being like, okay, he didn't want to kill Naomi's kid. And I'm like, you're bringing up the kind of opposite effect of like the dude that was in the whole Free Navy new guy thing. Where you're like, I understand that you don't want to like kill Naomi's kid. And the whole kind of problems going on with that. However, you can say that to Amos. Alright? Granted, he thinks differently than other people, but he would understand that. And probably be like, okay, you try and do the right thing. Holden holding out any kind of reason and saying he doesn't owe him any explanation is fucking shit and bullshit. And Amos's reaction of being like, yeah, I might leave, makes sense. But Bobby is like, yeah, war sucks. Both when good men trying to do good things and bad people trying to do bad things. It's mainly just about like getting through with the people that's by your side. And that pretty much has Amos go back to the Rossi. So it's mainly structurally used for the plot to pretty much explain why Amos is back on the Rossi with his family that we've seen throughout the seasons. It introduces conflict and drama that really didn't need to be there or be there in this way. So they essentially made a problem and had to make a solution to where we had this scene to do it. Because normally I'd be like, yeah, it's kind of cool to see Amos and Bobby doing this kind of thing. However, once you start understanding the kind of mechanics of what's going on with this and why it needs to be here and what's going on with the characters of it, you're just like, this isn't the standards that we're up to. It's like, all right, have at it. So we end the episode with pretty much Kamina kind of like strolling through Ceres, and then we see Avasarala going through Ceres as well, and they kind of meet, like, glad we're meeting in person. I know you don't really trust the person I used to be. I want to pretty much present to you who I am now. I want to work together with you, and I don't have anything more than like the promise that I will hold my promise for you to make sure that the Belters that do fight this fight are remembered and that we do better. And it does work out. I'm like, all right, cool. This is supposedly setting up that, yeah, drummers working together. They got the handshake. That's kind of where it ends. And I do kind of like it. I'm like, it's kind of the old school kind of Expanse thing where Kamina's like, yeah, my people aren't taking orders from you. So they're like, yeah, I don't expect them to. We just need to fight on the same side and do this kind of thing. You know, and I understand that I've done some bad shit and that I'm trying to be better and that I want to do better by you guys and everybody else involved. It's like, I like that. That's how we should strive for. And we'll have to see how that kind of works out for this final episode, but it doesn't really feel like this was a penultimate episode. It still felt like we needed other kind of things to kind of get everything into place, even though it did feel like we were spinning and fillering kind of stuff to kind of get there. This is a weird kind of season, and I don't think that the story and the conclusion that we're getting to this arc, I don't know how it's going to shake out. I hope that it's not going to go like complete dog shit like Game of Thrones style and just kind of shit the bed. But I have to keep that kind of frame in mind for what's been going on. This season has been definitely vacillating between a lot of weird kind of shit, and it's not up to the standards that like the Expanse is usually up to. So I'll have to kind of see how this works out. I expect lots of battle sequences probably in the next one. I know we're going to get the fucking Laconia stuff in there because we've been seeing it throughout the whole season, but I hope that their whole kind of thing was to essentially establish the Resurrection Protocol and that the next one just deals with everything that we need to do. Fights, pretty much we start, I hope how it would go is that we get all the fighting and everything done as soon as possible. Now, granted, I like action scenes and I don't like rushing shit, but however, half of the episode's got to be devoted to whatever fight's going on, and half of it has to be dealt with the falling action, denouement, and the resolution and closure of the story and the characters. And that's a fucking tall order for a single episode, even at whatever length it's going to be at. So they got a lot of shit to do. And I'm interested to see how it's going to go out, but I am apprehensive. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.